What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome to Leafs Digest. Amidst the absolute shenanigans that are going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs right now and their little funk that they've been in, and then kind of just a weird win against the Chicago Blackhawks, some news that I don't think anyone saw coming kind of broke this morning. Morgan Rielly signs an extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs past the season. 8 years, $7.5 million deal. Just some quick facts about the signing. He's a 27-year-old defenseman, 6'1", 220 pounds. He's been on a $5 million AAV salary from until this point. This contract that he just signed, the 8-year contract for $7.5 per. He's got 6 years at full no move, and the last 2 years are a 10-team no trade list. Goody, right away, how do you feel about this signing? Did you see it happen? What was your immediate reaction to seeing the news?
I was so surprised. I was definitely thrilled to see it happen, but this came amidst just a circus start to the season for the Leafs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I even said on a pod the other day that no way Morgan Rielly re-signs in the offseason, just basing it off of what I've seen from the team so far, being a defenseman in Toronto. I know Morgan Rielly's kind of got more love than typical defensemen playing for the Leafs, but still, it's a tough environment to be in. He's getting up there in age. You'd think he'd want to test out his market value and get a change of scenery, but no, he's locking it down with this group. And we've also talked about how championship teams need value contracts. I wouldn't say this is like a perfect situation, but it's probably as perfect as you can get for the Leafs and Morgan Rielly. I was blown away to see this news break.
Yeah, I was at work today, and one of my buddies there just goes, "Yo, Morgan Rielly extension," and I was like, "What?" And I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "There's no way like this guy's messing with me right now." Lo and behold, signs 8 years, $7.5 million extension, and it's like you said, like you do need value contracts to win, but I think it's a pretty good deal. It's something we talked about before where you look at some of the defensemen signing around the league and they were demanding higher value. And you and I had come on here numerous times and said it wasn't impossible to re-sign Morgan Rielly, but it was going to be difficult. And what I want to transition this to is kind of when I started to think about Morgan Rielly potentially signing an extension during this season, there's a few things that I kind of thought about, and I'll break them all down to you here. We can kind of go through them. So one would be, the idea of him not signing an extension could become a distraction to the team, which is it's going to be something, it could be a distraction to him, Dubas, the rest of the team as they go along here. Now, the second part of that, which I thought might actually be more important to this team, which is another reason why I'm a little bit more surprised, and this was brought to my attention by Craig Button on TSN. He had mentioned that if Morgan Rielly re-signs with the Toronto Maple Leafs during this season, this is obviously prior to him signing this contract, he said, this could be a bigger distraction to this team because after that contract is signed, it's going to be worth a lot of money. Everyone in that room is going to know that someone has to be going somewhere next season.
But
money
that's
has
just
to be shed.
Definitely, but that's the reality of the business. And Morgan Rielly is our top defenseman. I know Muzzin, you could say, plays like a defenseman's role, probably the way you would want, not this season, but ideally the way you've seen Muzzin be with the Leafs. He's really like that ideal defenseman that we've been looking for. But Morgan Rielly is dynamic. He is our most skilled D guy. He's been here for so long. He's seen every phase of this Leafs team. I mean, we need to give him some credit, and he's always held his head high. And overall, just a good change room guy from what I'd imagine. Morgan Rielly's legit. He's been a leader for a long time, so I don't think anyone should feel slighted by him getting probably a cap-friendly contract. So I wouldn't see it as a distraction, and honestly, I wouldn't even see the inverse situation of him not signing until the end of the season as a distraction either. I feel like on a team like the Leafs, where there's a lot of guys getting paid big money and there's been a lot of player turnover, I feel like they understand the business of it. And to be honest, I feel like the sentiment toward the team hasn't necessarily been there. Guys aren't dying to stay in Toronto at this moment. So to see Morgan Rielly want to actually stick around is only a positive thing for the change room, I think. It will probably take a little bit of relief for everyone to see a guy who we thought would walk, who's going to be really good, stick around. I think it's all in all good. But Phil, one other thing too that I got to say.
Yeah.
When I saw this contract get signed, I was like, perfect. If stuff continues to go downhill for this group, he's much more tradable. And I know that sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. But I was just thinking of every single potential situation that could come from here. And I was like, at least he's very tradable right now. You came down on me and you were like, no, that's not the situation at all. So let the people know, for anyone thinking that he can be traded right now, that's not quite the case.
Yeah, so and I hated to do it to you, the the absolute like bringing the hammer down in that way. And the reason I hated it so much more, and also like it was a little bit of a bittersweet feeling, was because I had the exact same thought. And I'm sitting there seeing this contract, and I'm like, value contract, lock this guy up for term. He's a good defenseman. A lot of people around the league see value in him. He's being considered for Team Canada. He could be traded at this number if things go downhill, just like you said. And I'm scrolling through Twitter doing my research, and I find Morgan Rielly's contract, 8 years. It looks like the first 6 years are a full no move clause, and the last 2 years are a 10-team no trade list. So all the hopes of kind of Rielly being moved at this point would be gone unless the team approaches him. They ask him if he'd be willing to move, and he has to waive his no move clause, which it's fine, but you got to think like it's a process, and to be able to give that guy the no move, if he doesn't want to go anywhere, he can just ixnay any trade that's proposed to him, right? So it's both ends. It's yes, he can waive it, but he could also just say no.
Well, it is a good point though that if the Leafs situation does continue to spiral downhill and they're offered something they really like from Morgan Rielly and it's at a destination that probably would have been on his top 10 list, then at that point maybe he is like, okay, I will waive it. Yeah. So it's not completely impossible. If we're in that situation,
it's just a
where
lot
things
more
are
difficult. It's just
definitely. Yeah. It's not quite as easy as I thought, but our first choice anyways is not to trade Morgan Rielly. This is a guy that you've locked up on a winning contract who's really good and been with your team for a long time. So
yeah, he was drafted in 2012, first round draft pick, 5th overall. He's drafted in 2012. He starts with plays a little bit of junior hockey. Then he goes to the Marlies for 14 games in that 2012-2013 season, and then immediately transitions to the Leafs right after. For the 13-14 season, he plays 73 games. 16-17, he starts wearing the alternate captain, and then 17-18, he puts up 52 points in 76 games, which is the biggest step in points in the NHL, and then he follows it up with the next year of 18-19 with 72 points in 82 games, the most he's had, which is just an incredible number. This guy almost goes point per game as a defenseman. And honestly, like, we can look at it as, oh, you haven't had as great of years as that 1 year in the past 2 seasons. But I think we are a little bit difficult on him here in Toronto. And when you take a look at it from the grand scheme of things, 2019-2020, he played 47 games. He had 27 points. And then last season, he played 55 games and he had 35 points. You're looking at a defenseman here who, and here's the one way I'll say it, which you can jump on me if you think this is incorrect or you don't understand this one, but I think Morgan Rielly would be top 3, if not the best, number 2 defenseman in the NHL.
No, I agree. And if he were to go somewhere else, I think he'd light it up as well. So yeah. Morgan Rielly's an asset.
He's one of those guys where if you put him with a number 1, or I think that this pairing with Brody could transition to be very good if you end up kind of looking at them as both twos that support each other in ways that fill the gaps that the other person fails to bring to the pairing. They could combine to become just a very, very top end pairing, a very, very good pairing. But I don't think alone Morgan Rielly is a number 1, but these numbers that he puts up support the fact that he is one of the best second defensemen in the NHL.
You could still service him as like a number 1, but would he be like a guy to take you to the next level as a number 1? Maybe not, but yeah. Still, I love Morgan Rielly. I think that even when he's not getting points, which is kind of rare. I mean, you already outlined his career totals. Like he's really legit when it comes to getting on the stat sheet. But even when he's not, he's all over the ice. I know he makes some dumb defensive mistakes, but every defenseman does, especially a mobile defenseman. And it only stands out so bad because we play in this market where it's like a fishbowl. Everyone's dissecting it. Everyone knows the game of hockey. It's not like Carolina where you can go and afford to make these mistakes every night and just go out with a fresh start. Jake Gardiner, what a perfect place for him to play. Yeah. But man, Morgan Rielly right now re-signing in Toronto, I think says a lot about his desire to stay here, obviously, and win here, which we need this kind of push. I'm hoping that this is more momentum for the team to really have a better start to the season because it's been ugly so far, which is why it was so surprising that he did this.
And in terms of the cap situation moving forward, I understand that it's a little bit concerning. You're adding $2.5 million onto the cap for the next season. You'd have to shed that $2.5 million. But when I was looking things up, here is one thing which I'm not sure you may have realized, and I feel like a lot of Leafs fans out there haven't really quite considered yet. There is a player who is still on the Leafs salary cap, playing in the NHL. He's on the active salary cap. This is his final year that the Leafs have to pay him. Do you know who that player is, Josh?
Is it Kessel?
It's not good, eh?
It is Phil
Phil
Kessel.
the Thrill.
Phil Kessel is on the books for his final season with the Toronto Maple Leafs at $1.2 million, which means that after this season, the Leafs really only need to free up basically 1.2 to be able to fit into the rest of that Morgan Rielly contract, which I do think is very doable. It is a little bit of a situation where you're looking ahead going, okay, we have to make that money up. You probably want to bring back Jack Campbell. This guy looks like a true number one goaltender, but it's not that concerning. We have some Dubas and those guys will have some flexibility. I'm certain there's going to be some kind of move coming at the end of this season, no matter how this year goes. If we have success, if we don't have success, they're going to have to move guys. You can't just run this back. So there's going to be movement. There's going to be ways of fitting things in. We know Morgan Rielly is going to be around with this team for the foreseeable future. I think it's a good signing. I think it's a value signing here. And then it takes away all that uncertainty of, is this guy coming back? Is he going to walk in free agency and we're going to lose him for nothing like numerous other players have done from this team? But otherwise, I think we feel good about this one. And hopefully it brings some morale around this team as we go into the next game tomorrow night, October 30th, against the Detroit Red Wings back here in Toronto. Hopefully we can get this thing on a roll. Morgan Rielly feeling positive. He's got 4 points in 8 games this season. He can roll right in there. Brand new contract, money bags, paying for the boys' meals and stuff after the game. So, Leafs fans, I feel pretty good about this signing. Josh, you feel pretty good about this signing. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you guys enjoy this one, if you think that Morgan Rielly deserves more money, less money, if the Leafs should have let him walk, if we should have traded him, how do you feel about the no movement clauses? And most importantly, after you like and you comment on this video, we just hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you guys for that. But we are now on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So every subscriber along the way means absolutely everything to us. We appreciate the support from you guys all the way through to this point. So thank you guys for that. We look forward to more live videos with you guys, more live streams, more interaction. And Leafs fans, let's hope we can turn this thing around, roll over Detroit tomorrow night, just absolutely steamroll them out of the building. Goody. I'm excited about this Rielly contract. I'm excited about what this team does going forward. But Leafs fans, let's keep believing.
Signing off.